What's up, guys? My name is Ben Pollock. I'm here with True Nutrition, and I wanted to give you some updates on my prep for both my bodybuilding show and my powerlifting meet that I have in the next couple of months. So, yes, I am training for both at the same time. Yes, it is very difficult, but I'm hoping that, by kind of talking through where I'm at and how I've planned this, I can give you guys some advice for your own training. So, let's get into it. I am currently in Tampa, Florida. I'm training with a number of people here. Tampa, if you're not aware, is a very good place to be for bodybuilding right now. So there's a lot of great gyms and there's a lot of great people. I'm training at MI40 Gym, which is, it's owned by Ben Paluski. It's one of the most famous gyms in the country, and I'm really privileged to be there. I'm also training at Elite Strength and Conditioning, which is a powerlifting gym here in the area because, again, trying to balance both at the same time, usually I need more equipment than I can find at just one place alone. So I'm staying in Tampa for 5 weeks. After that, I'm going to fly out to Phoenix, Arizona to compete at the USA Championships in bodybuilding. So if I win my weight class, the super heavy weight class, I'll earn my pro card in bodybuilding. But regardless of what happens in Phoenix, after that, I'm leaving for Portland, Oregon, where I'll be training with the Kabuki Strength Team, leading up to my powerlifting meet in Coleman, Texas on September 11th. So I have about a 6-week break in between there. And my goal is to total 2,200 pounds, about 1,000 kilograms, in the 242 weight class. So that would not be a world record or anything, but considering that I haven't competed in powerlifting in a little over 2 years, and that I have never competed in the 242 class, and then I'll be coming, I'll have just 6 weeks to get ready for that meet. I feel very good about, where I'm at right now for everything. So I'm currently 6 weeks out of the bodybuilding show. Again, that's July 30th and 31st in Phoenix. Shelby Starnes is my coach. If you guys have been following Dante Trudell on our True Nutrition for a while, you're probably familiar with Shelby. But he's an incredible coach. I can't thank him enough for being willing to work with me. And we're in a good position right now. I weighed 247.4 this morning. So for comparison, I started my prep for nationals last year at 242. And I ended up, I think I hit a low of 229 during that prep. Now, this time around, I'm probably going to hit a low somewhere in the 245 range, so higher than I started prep last time. I'll be in contest shape. Shelby would like me in shape about 3 to 5 weeks out so we can practice, depleting, filling out, all that good stuff. Make sure we don't screw up when it comes time to get on stage, which I'm sure we won't, but it's always good to practice beforehand. So I'm somewhere between 1 and 3 weeks out of contest shape, and again 247 and a half. So hopefully on stage I'll be somewhere, after I am filled out, somewhere close to 250, which I'm only 5'8", so that should look pretty cool. I've really been focusing on my arm size, my delt size, and my ab control this off season, and I feel good about that. I've brought up my vacuum a lot, so I should be able to hit a vacuum for my front double bicep. My quarter turns are looking sharp, and I'm very, very happy with the progress that I've made in that regard. My strength is also at an all-time high. So this past week, I hit a 465-pound bench. I squatted 665 with an additional 140 pounds in chains, and I deadlifted 735 for 5. And none of those are PRs, but they were really easy lifts. I didn't have to get psyched up. I didn't have to push myself too hard, physically or mentally. So the fact that those are kind of starting points for my powerlifting meet prep, which is in 12 weeks, I feel really, really good about that. My goal for the powerlifting meet is, at the very least, I'd like to PR in my total, which would mean, around 2050, but I'm really shooting for a 2,200 pound total, somewhere in the range of an 855 pound squat, a 507 bench, and a 838 to 850 deadlift. The grip will hold me back on deadlift if I can't fix that, but I am working on it hard every day because right now I think I'm good for, over 900 pounds with straps, but you don't get to use straps in a powerlifting competition. So everything's going well. I'd be lying if I said I felt great. My energy levels are very low. My food intake is fine. I'm getting a good amount of food in. It's just I am pretty lean and I am doing a lot of activity. So I'm pretty worn out most of the time. I'm doing everything I can to make sure I get the most out of my training sessions. My training partner, Taylor Gone, and I go to MI40 right after our first meal of the day, so the energy levels are the highest. We're training with Rachel Daniels. She also works with my coach Shelby, and she's an Olympian, so we have a really good environment there. And then immediately after the bodybuilding sessions, I usually have a strength focus session as well to make sure that I'm also preparing for the powerlifting meet. So it is a very demanding schedule, but I'm enjoying it, and I'm really getting good results out of it. It's I gotta say the True Nutrition supplements have really been helping my prep. The EAAs I think do really make a big difference. First of all, I'm in Florida. It is hot as hell here, coming from Michigan, so I'm constantly dehydrated. Having those to help stay hydrated, to help stay full, really helps a lot. And then the pre workouts have been a godsend. So I've moved up to double scoops. I'll probably be on double scoops of the True Nutrition Pre for the remainder of my prep, which is okay. I try to back off on my caffeine when I'm in the off season, but when it's time to push, it's time to push. So that's about where I'm at right now, and it's getting time to introduce the sleep aid back in because my sleep has suffered a little bit. Nothing terrible, but generally when you're lean and you're hungry at night, it's difficult to get a good night's sleep. So that's what I'm using in terms of supplements there. I think that the biggest takeaway I've gotten from training for powerlifting and bodybuilding at the same time is learning how to transfer my movement patterns from one sport to the other. So if you're not familiar with movement patterns, you should be. It's something that really makes a difference in performance no matter what your goals are. But by understanding better how my body moves through space, building that kinesthetic awareness, building the ability to connect with my muscles, my muscle connection. The better I get at that, the better I'm able to train for both bodybuilding and powerlifting. So let me give you an example. One of the criticisms I got last year after my show at NPC Nationals was that I didn't control my waist well. It wasn't so much that my waist was blown out of proportion. It's just that when I was doing my quarter turns, I was used to brace and keeping my abs tight, but not necessarily controlling my breath. And if you guys aren't familiar with that distinction, you should look up the video Breathing is Not Bracing, and it's by Kabuki Strength. But when I learned that I needed to be able to control my abs independently of my breath, I was then able to dramatically change the size and appearance of my waist. And I was also able to dramatically change the stability that I had when squatting, bench pressing, and deadlifting. Because the breath and the muscular control have to go together. And in previous years I lacked that. If I'd never gotten into bodybuilding in the first place, I probably never would have learned that. So that's one example where there's a big amount of overlap, but if you're not so concerned with the general principles that govern both sports, you might not ever realize it. Okay. Another example is my foot positioning. All right. So in powerlifting, there's a concept known as rooting, which means putting your feet in the right position to transfer the optimal amount of force to the ground while staying stable. Right. And so generally you want to drive your whole foot into the ground, but you want to have your weight distributed evenly through the big toe, the little toe, and the heel. Right. That gives you the most stable position that you can to lift from. Well, for a long time, I wasn't able to do that in powerlifting, and I would instead rely on orthotics to control my foot position. That made it very difficult to pose properly because I wasn't able to bring out the definition of my legs because my feet were weak. And so once I started training my feet, training my rooting positioning for powerlifting, I was then able to pose better for bodybuilding. So those types of similarities are what I suggest that you seek out no matter what your ultimate goal is. The more you can learn from other sports, from other strength disciplines, from other people, the better off you'll be in the long term. I think that covers it for this update. I hope you guys found that interesting and maybe a little bit helpful in your own training and own practice. If you do have feedback for me, let me know because I would love to make this series as informative as possible. But no matter what, I hope you're straight and strong and I hope you're thinking hard.